it's a terrible situation that we've got going on, and there's a massive groundswell, and this hasn't happened in the last 3 months through Dudula or March and March or any of the other persons that are wanting to see foreigners out of South Africa. There's varying views. You've got Julius, who wants a Pan-Africa and a Southern African Union and stuff, and I think that those are really, really nice ideas. I think they're idealistic, but they're things that needed to have been being worked on from 30 years ago. You can't suddenly go and drop that in now. And I think there's a lot of radical behavior. I think there's ridiculousness, absolute ridiculousness around trying to encourage any and every South African to be able to go and confront any other, at this moment in time, black South African or black foreigner, to question them about their paperwork. They're not qualified. They have no idea what that paperwork should look like, and therefore they need to either be taught how to do that sort of stuff. But the level of brutality that's being meted out, people whipping people beating people up, it's actually very, very sad to be watching. We have this notion, and around the world people believe we're the most beautiful South Africans and we're the most friendly country in the world, and they go away from having had a wonderful time. I mean, for people to see what we're looking at the moment certainly doesn't bear testimony to anything like that whatsoever. We're a brutal nation, we're a violent nation, and we're a very angry nation, and that you're beginning to see on every street corner. I think that it's reckless. I think that there's intelligent people. You sit and you watch Jacinta offer her opinion, and she comes across very articulate, and she's got some really good points, and that in itself makes me suspicious in terms of who else might be behind the March and where they're getting their impetus from, and where they're getting their funding from necessarily. But we're certainly not showing ourselves off to the rest of our continent, which I think is the most important here. Is as Africans, this is an African story that's busy unfolding. And you can have a look back in time. Nelson Mandela spent time in several different countries across Africa, showing gratitude for the support that the ANC or the revolution had got from different countries, whether it was Nigeria or Tanzania or Uganda or Kenya, and there's a whole host of nations that were in support, Malawi, Zimbabwe. These are our neighbours, whether we like it or not, and a lot of them are in dire situation because, again, we go back to 32 years of our government being complicit in not assisting in changing the fortunes and the favours of our neighbours. And we're talking about the man on the street. The fact that we're not involved in any of their policy. You have Emerson Mnangagwa, who stole the presidency from Robert Mugabe, who just wasn't going to go anywhere, and you watched an entire country just collapse. And those people came here out of absolute desperation. They would have been in their own country if they could have been. But you watched ZANU-PF brutally assault people. You watched anyone who tried to stand up and become a participant in politics or in the political environment get arrested or harassed. So the idea of African countries being free to develop their economies is an absolute misnomer. It doesn't happen. You've got elites that are at the top. They've chowed all the money. They want to chow any future money. They've taken over property. They've taken over any businesses that happen to be making funds. They've taken over mines. They've just completely collapsed and killed economies across the bottom end of the continent, more importantly. I think you're seeing some level of development around East Africa, but even then nowhere near fast enough. But we have those people in our country. They've been here for the last 30 years, for as long as the ANC's been in charge. It's been nothing to worry about, but now all of a sudden we've got a crisis. We've got a youth unemployment that's sitting at I mean, I just keep hearing numbers that climb and climb and climb. I was in the 42s and things like that. Somebody threw a 60% at me the other day. That obviously means we've got another year forward, and another matric class has arrived on the streets, or a university of graduates have arrived on the streets with no jobs to go to. And the sadness is that some of these people that are here have built these businesses over that period of time. They've got children in this country, they're married to South Africans, and we now suddenly want to unravel that. And I think it's a very, very dangerous situation with March and Adula trying to allow the man on the street to be the adjudicator, rather than, you know, developing a number of people via the government that can go out, that are trained to look at the papers and identify whether people can or should be here. Setting up crisis centres where people can go to and they can state whether they are allowed to be here, aren't allowed to be here, do have papers, don't have papers. Issue them with papers. Give them a 30-day period, a 90-day period to be able to get out of here if they're not supposed to be here. But the way you've handed it over to the man in the street is diabolical, and the behaviour is atrocious to sit and witness as a South African.